This clay is from Wallsend, actually. And it came from an old shipyard in Wallsend on the maps of the time. And it's just it's a typical northern clay. So it's laid down in the sort of post-glacial period, and it's mixed in with all sorts of, it's got all sorts of raw material of impurities in it, minerals, things like iron oxide, and bits of sand, bits of you know, all sorts, bits of organic material. And so what we do is basically you dig it up, dry it, crush it, and then rehydrate it in water, and then knead it. And it's almost like kneading bread. It's a similar sort of process. I mean, in bread you're trying to include air, and in clay you're trying to get rid of the air, but apart from that it's a similar sort of thing. So there are many parallels with making bread, really, making clay. And of course, also like making bread, you can put different ingredients in it according to what you want the final product to be. So if you want nice fine pottery, you might put some very fine sand into the clay. If you want cooking pots, then you'll probably put something much coarser in, some coarse grit or calcite or something like that. And so that's the sort of finished product, and that's what all potters need to make a pot. They need basically a uniform bit of clay, a perfectly mixed bit of clay without air in it, without too many dry and hard bits in the clay. It's got to be a uniform soft mix. And then this sort of wheel is very similar. This is metal, here's a wooden one. This is the sort of wheel that has been used for thousands of years, really, since wheels were invented in the Middle East. And they're still used in parts of Europe today, until recently, certainly in Spain and Portugal. And in the Balkans, people still use wheels like this. And the reason is they're very adaptable. You can turn them both ways, so you can coil build on them and you can throw pots on them. And they work, basically. It's appropriate technology. So you don't need an electric wheel. And to make a pot, you simply take a bit. I mean, you might, decide you're going to make lots of pots of the same size, and so you make lots of balls of clay of the same size. But we'll just make something fairly small. Make a ball, put it in the middle, and then centre it, which is really by just pushing it into the middle, forcing the clay into the middle, and then we'll give it a base by putting my thumb down and then dragging the thumb across the bottom. And then to lift it, it's simply a question of squeezing it, really pushing from the outside and squeezing it so the clay has to go up. And that's really the shape that you begin all pots with, that kind of conical shape like that. And then from there I can lift it a bit more with one hand. I'm still keeping it fairly narrow at the top, and then I can go to two hands, which is where an electric wheel is a bit of an advantage, because you don't have to keep on turning the wheel. So I'm just again squeezing it really from the outside against my finger inside, and then lifting up.
Why don't you eat with your family? I'll look after that because it's quiet at the moment.
No, I'm not hungry. So,
And so, having made that,
I've already had a lot.
you can then give it a bit of shape according to what you want to make. So I'll just give it a bit of a body.
I've got drinks, I've got food, everything you need here. Very popular today.
And we'll finish off with the rim. And then we can give it a little bit more shape. I mean, either we could cut the shape in using a knife, cut straight down there and give it a straight profile, or you can give it a little bit of a pedestal.
Oh yeah.
Now I'll put it back in there.
And then decoration, can make some incised decorations, or paint it or whatever, but to give it a simple decoration, you do this.
pots for somebody who see it.
And then I'll put a handle on. So to put a handle on, most potters would leave the pot to dry for a few hours or even a day or so, but it is possible to put a handle on straight away. And some potters, for example today in the Balkans, and you can see the way people worked in the past from the remains they've left, some potters put a handle on straight away because it saves time. It saves time and it's more effective if you can put the handle on straight away. So we'll just make something. This is not what's called a pulled handle, but it is a traditional way of making handles anyway. So you've got to support the handles so that you can support the pot at the same time. So I'm just going to smooth the rim over onto the handle there, and then fix it on the bottom. And then attach to the outside, attach to the bottom. And now that can be finessed a little bit later on. And then to take it off the wheel, just cut it with a wire like this. Yeah. And then just clean the wheel a bit and start the process again.